Hello, dear ones. Welcome to the Dream Lab, a safe, inspiring place for you and God to dream without limits what you most desire to be, do, and have in your life right now. Every episode, I hold space for you to be irreplaceably you, to explore your unique design and discover your dreams as a reflection of God's heart for the world around you. I am your host, your guide, your encourager-in-chief, Christina B. Come on in to the Dream Lab. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to another episode of the Dream Lab podcast. I'm your host, Christina B. In the last episode, you drafted a list of 10 I am statements and you narrowed your list to 5. Yay! You made it! That is the most challenging exercise of the Dream Lab workshop because it forces you to go deeper and into your heart, and it forces you to get clear because you only have 24 hours in a day. You really have to focus in on how you spend your time. So looking back over the past few episodes, ponder these questions with me for a minute. What did you like best about envisioning with God? How do you feel about your list, your top 5? Do you love your list? Is there something on there, one thing that absolutely inspires and excites you? Is there anything on the list that surprises you or scares you? Those are some super helpful questions to ponder and think about because your top 5 really should be the center of the center, your deepest heart's desire for this season of your life. Now, this could change in 6 months or a year, but for right now, this is what your deepest heart's desires are. Your homework from the last session is you were to make some index cards with your top 5 on them and put them around you so that you could remind yourself when you are being offered choices in life, how do you spend your time? The second part of your homework was to put one of your top 5 on a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper and then make a really long, if you had space for it on a wall, make a really long row of all of your 5, all 5 of your dreams. And then look at them each day. And if there was one that really stood out to you as most inspiring and deeply moving, then move that up. So I'm curious, if you did that, how did it go? Was there one in particular that sort of remained above the others? Or did it change from day to day? One of my friends went through this twice, actually. And the second time when she did this, there was one that absolutely every single day rose to the top. It was the center of the center for her, her deepest heart's desire. So that was a really helpful exercise for her to know that, like, that is just something that she felt like she couldn't live without, like that she really needed and had to believe God was going to give her. So that's why I think that is a really helpful exercise. All right, in this session, we are going to play a fun little game. But before we get into that, I want to read an article, part of an article that I found yesterday that illustrates perfectly why it is so important what you believe about yourself and how you talk to yourself, which is the subject of this episode. I will put a link to this article in the show notes. This article is called Counterclockwise Study: The Science Behind Mindset and Aging. Every year, the Happiness and Its Causes Conference in Sydney brings together some of the world's best scientists, educators, psychologists, and artists to explore happiness and fulfillment from all possible angles. In 2012, psychology professor Ellen Langer appeared on the stage to discuss her book, Counterclockwise: Mindful Health and Power and the Power of Possibility, and some of its most illuminating revelations. The study of possibility is the study of what might be rather than a mere description of what is, she said during her presentation. Possibility opens up when we recognize the difference between uncontrollable and indeterminate. Trying is the key. Langer is a pioneering research in aging. In 1981, she became the first woman ever to be tenured in psychology at Harvard University in the U.S., where she continues as a professor of psychology today. A social scientist with little regard for convention, Langer earned the moniker the Mother of Mindfulness for her work exploring the human mind and all of its untapped potential. When we're mindless, we're not there to notice we're not there, she said during her appearance. Langer has built her entire 50-plus year career on that premise time and again, claiming and proving through original scientific experiments that mindset matters a lot. Emphasis mine on that, a lot. Our beliefs and expectations about aging specifically can have a monumental impact on our health as we get older. In 1979, this is the most brilliant experiment. I wish I could have participated in something like this. I think it would be amazing to go back to the 60s. Anyway, I digress. In 1979, Langer conducted an experiment to demonstrate just that. If we turn the clock back psychological, can we also do it physically? Enter the counterclockwise study. For her experiment, Langer accompanied a group of 8 elderly men in their 70s to a residential retreat that was set up to recreate the social, physical environment of 1959. Her question was, if we turn the clock back psychologically, can we also do it physically? As Langer explained in her Happiness and Its Causes presentation, the experiment started with somewhat inadvertently the moment the group arrived at the retreat. The elderly men had brought heavy suitcases for the week-long stay. With only Langer there to assist them, they had no choice but to carry their own bulky luggage. What seemed like an oversight at first, not having younger, stronger people present to help unload things, actually set a precedent for the entire retreat. The elderly men couldn't take a defeatist attitude, or else their suitcases wouldn't have made it to their rooms. Despite their advanced age, the group successfully hauled the luggage into a residence that was actually more like a time machine. They spent the week sequestered there in 1959, speaking in the present tense about the past while truly living, believing, and behaving as though the clock had turned back 2 decades. They simply didn't remember what life was like in 1959. They lived it. They listened to Perry Como and Jack Benny songs on a 1950s radio. Oh my God, this sounds so fun. They watched Ed Sullivan on a black and white television. They discussed current events, watched movies, flipped through magazines, and even dressed like it was 2 decades prior. There weren't any mirrors in the house to disrupt the illusion either. The only reminders the men had about their appearance were portraits they had brought of their younger selves. Outside that residence, it was still 1979, but inside, the 8 elderly men involved in Langer's experiment became young again, and by the end of the week, their physical health reflected that psychological reversal of time. They showed substantial improvements in flexibility, dexterity, memory, hearing, posture, cognitive ability, and general well-being. They even looked younger to outside observers who were shown photos of them before and after the experiment. I wonder if they actually were able to alter their gene expression. I don't think this article mentions that. But anyway, the article does talk, the experiment itself highlights how important it is what you believe about yourself and how you talk to yourself. Okay, so health is more than the absence of illness. Langer, the researcher, told the people at this conference, and she goes into a lot of detail in her book, which I might actually get her book from the library. It sounds fascinating. She did a similar experiment with chambermaids at a bunch of hotels, and she instead of training them to think that their laborious, hard working jobs were causing their aches and pains, she had them shift their mindset to make them think about it as exercise, and it totally shifted their outcomes, which I think is fascinating. So all that to say, it is crucial what you think about yourself and how you talk to yourself. I just want to read one more chunk of this article because I think it's really important before we move on to our little game in the Dream Lab. To this day, more than 50 years after the experiment, Ellen Langer argues the physical limitations we encounter as we get older are largely determined by how we think about ourselves and our capabilities. The moment these 8 men arrived at her experimental retreat in 1979, they were no longer elderly and feeble. If they had been, their suitcases would have never made it inside. They spent the rest of their retreat immersed in such a different mindset that by the end of the week, post-experiment tests showed marked and measurable improvements in a multitude of physical attributes. It wasn't just psychological anymore. The men quite literally shifted their states of mind and altered their well-being. Okay, here we go. We're going to play a game. It is called What's Right About Me. You've narrowed your list to 5. You now have your deepest heart's desire in list form, the top 5 things that you want most deeply. Before we go any further, we need to conquer negative self-talk. We all have it. And as we've demonstrated from the article that I read to you, that how we think about ourselves and what we say to ourselves is really important. So before we go any further, we're going to play this game. What's right about me? And there's two ways that you can play this game, actually. And your homework will be, I want you to play it both ways. The second way is you're going to need a buddy. Okay, the first way is what's right about me. Sit down. I want you to brainstorm a list of 10 amazing things about you that make it what's right about you. You're smart. You're hardworking. You are a fast learner. You are kind, compassionate, generous, all the things. It could be soft skills. It can be hard skills. Like I have a lot of computer skills, or I have a lot of, intuition and compassion and an ability to empathize, those sorts of things. Doesn't matter what it is. I want you to make a list of at least 10 and maybe even more if you can keep going. If you are struggling, I want you to call a friend who knows you well and loves your soul and ask them, what are my greatest attributes? And they will be more than happy to tell you. And once you've got a list of like 10 or 15 things or more, preferably, I want you to play this little game. And I want you to say it out loud. You can sit down and say, what's right about me? What's right about me is I am a kind, compassionate, and godly woman. I am a fast learner. What's right about me is I am tenacious and persevering. I am an overcomer. What's right about me is, you get the idea. The second way I want you to play this is I want you to find a buddy, someone that you know and trust, and you can play it like what's right about you, where you can ask each other what's right about you, and you can tell each other what's right about you, Jill, is you are and then you just speak life-giving words into them. And speaking it both ways is really powerful because one, you're hearing it from the outside from someone you know and trust, and you're hearing it in the present tense, I am, with powerful words and verbs. Okay, so that's your homework. You're going to play the game two different ways after you make a list of what's right about you. What's right about me is, and then you get a buddy, and then you're going to play it and say, what's right about you is, as you are playing this game, it is likely that you are going to bump up against some limiting beliefs. And if you don't know what your limiting beliefs are, just pause and ask God to show you. Ask God to give you the presence of mind and to slow your thoughts down just enough so you can perceive what they are, what's coming up for you. And if you can make a list of some of your top ones, then I want you to start challenging those limiting beliefs. I had a conversation with my dear friend, Jill, recently where we were talking about this for me. And I ended the conversation with her. And I was like, I need a strategy. Like I need some little tool that I can use in the moment to really take those thoughts captive. And so for me, I decided, because we are all affected by this. We all have to conquer negative self-talk. We all have to conquer these limiting beliefs. I have not arrived, so I want you to know I'm sojourning all of this with you. So I decided for me, one of the things that I'm going to do is not just, I'm just going to identify it like, oh, that's a limiting belief. That's a lie. Because typically that really is a lie. They're not true. Because if we don't know what the sensation of our body is and what it means, or how to just sit with it in the discomfort of it for a couple of minutes and let it dissipate, we will attach words to it. And quite often those things aren't true. The words we attach are not true. They are worst case scenario. It's like our central nervous system trying to prepare us for fight, flight, freeze. Okay? So I want you to make a list of limiting beliefs, and then I want you to start challenging those limiting beliefs as they come up. You can do what I'm doing and saying that's a lie, or if you would rather make it a more engaging process, you can ask, what if that's not true? Because it probably isn't. We talked in the last episode about how important it is to stay out of the analytical mind while you were visioning and dreaming and writing down all of your I am statements. And the reason why we do that is because your analytical mind will attempt to find a really clear linear pathway. And there's literally like thousands of ways that your dreams could come true. And if you are anchoring yourself to one, you are excluding yourself from the thousands of other ways that it could possibly manifest in your life. So again, I want you to stay out of your analytical mind as you play this game. Don't think about the how, because we're not there yet. We're not focusing outward. We're still in the first part of the dream lab and everything is focused inward. So stay out of your analytical mind and just focus on playing the game. What's right about me? Grab a friend, play the game. What's right about you? And then write a list of limiting beliefs that are pretty common for you and come up with some sort of strategy to challenge them. Are you going to do what I'm doing and just say, nope, that's a lie. I am not going to entertain that thought. Or are you going to maybe engage in a little bit of self-exploration and say, what if that's not true? And then think about, well, it could happen this way or could happen that way. Or if it's not true, then what's the opposite of that? If this limiting belief that you don't have enough time or you don't have enough money isn't true, then the opposite of that is you do have enough time and you do have enough money. Does that make sense? Okay. Your other piece of homework is I want you to go and look up Dallas Jenkins' little video from when he was talking to a Facebook friend of his, someone he had been acquaintances with for some time, who sent him a little note in the middle of the night one night on Facebook. And he told Dallas at a really pivotal moment in his career, it's not your job to feed the 5,000. It's only your job to bring your 5 loaves and 2 fish. And this particular conversation was exceptionally life-giving. This little message that this man sent Dallas Jenkins was really life-giving for him because it took a lot of pressure off. So he stopped thinking about the how this is going to happen and spinning his wheels and trying to force it, and realized that all he needed to do was bring the little that he had and act on that in baby steps, and that God would take care of the rest. So go and look. If I can find the link to that video, I put that in the show notes too. That's a really good video to watch to remind yourself to stay out of your analytical mind. And then I want to remind you of the Harvard study that we talked about in an earlier episode, that your brain cannot tell the difference between reality and imagination. This is why it is really important to control and be really watchful of what you think about and what you meditate on. What images are you looking at inside your mind? Because your brain doesn't know the difference. It'll bring you whatever you meditate on there. If you're meditating on what could possibly go wrong, then that's going to amplify. If you're meditating on how amazing and fun and adventurous things will be, then that's what you're going to get. So if you haven't heard that episode, please go back and listen to that one. Okay. So that's another piece of homework for you. Your last piece of homework for this episode is take each one of your 5 dreams, and I want you to describe in detail what those dreams mean to you. Put one dream at the top of a blank piece of paper in your notebook and answer these questions. What does your life look like with this dream realized? Just go back to your vision. This dream is fully realized. It is you are 100% living that dream. What does your life look like? What does it feel like? How would fulfilling this dream change your life and the lives of people around you? Describe in detail how realizing this dream will make you feel. Feel it in your body. And then the last question is, why is fulfilling this dream so important to your happiness and well-being? And again, I want to remind you, at this point, we are still very much internally focused. So the point of writing the answers to these questions is to connect you with your heart, is to connect your dream with your heart. External focus comes after this, so don't set goals. And again, do not think about the how. Achieving your dream would be a really good way to measure external progress, but it will rob you of your sense of fulfillment in connecting your goals with your internal personal values. And that's what these exercises are designed to do. So that is it for this episode of the Dream Lab. This is a shorter one this week. I hope you have a fantastic week. If you have loved this episode, please share it with people you know and love who you think might benefit from it. Leave us a rating and a review. Leave a comment if you're listening to this on YouTube, because it will help other people find it. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Dream Lab podcast. Bye for now.